Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahar, and social media algorithms are not a complex science. I mean that they are. Obviously, you gotta have some programmers sitting around coding together the secret sauce that keeps people addicted to every single social media platform. But what happens when one social media platform and its algorithm and moderation effectively becomes non-existent and violent? You get an entire situation known as February 25th to the 26th of 2025, the day when Instagram started posting gore onto everyone's timelines. Well, not posting gore, but showing it through their actual reels, right? Which is sort of their TikTok competitor. So how do we know this is actually real? Well, Facebook apologized for it. We fixed an error that caused some users to see content in their Instagram Reels feed that should not have been recommended. Now, when you talk about an algorithm, recommendations typically work in a way where every single user has sort of a hidden profile attached, right? And that profile catalogs everything that you have engaged with on a platform. So let's say you're on YouTube, and you're like me and you watch lots of Linux and lots of gaming videos. YouTube's algorithm is probably going to, on the right-hand side of your actual video page, show you videos associated to you. So for me, it's always Linux creators, gaming creators, and that's pretty much what it comes down to. There might be the odd recommendation that gets thrown my way, but generally YouTube knows what I want to watch. So it shows me a video that I'm likely to click on, and that's just how it works. Same thing with Reels. Reels' primary goal is to get you looking at your phone and just scrolling up, 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 up. And hopefully commenting on it, liking on it, disliking on it, just engaging with it. Because engagement is all these platforms care about. So in this case, apparently all that happened on Instagram was somehow they were just recommending straight up gore to people. And there were some reports that started to pop up. Now, obviously, I don't have any photos to show you. I've already been age restricted, and actually that age restriction got removed after I believe a human looked at it. I'm not going to actually post censored images of gore, okay? That's just not going to happen, all right? If you want to look at that, there's probably some true crime channels out there. I'm watching Dexter recently, okay? That show gets pretty graphic. But for instance, this one user says, okay, seriously, what's going on with Instagram lately? For the past 24 hours, it feels like Instagram's algorithm has gone rogue. My feed is absolutely packed with violent reels. Like one after the other. It's like Instagram is now trying to make me question if I accidentally followed a bloodshed and chaos account. I get that the platform's all about engagement and trending, but did they really think this was the way to get people to scroll more? I'm not talking about the usual viral stunts or pranks. No, it's either graphic violence, aggression, and just straight up unsettling content. It's like Instagram decided, hey, who needs cute puppies or food reels when you can watch people get hurt? Now, I looked at Instagram Reels very briefly, and my experience with Instagram Reels on a fresh account, or as fresh as my Facebook account can be, was just straight up some creepy footage, not violent or anything, just creepy jokes, and straight up racism, okay? That's pretty much what it came down to. But you know, generally speaking, that's, I would assume most social media platforms these days, I think most social media platforms kind of push more negativity than they do positivity, because I'm sure the negativity probably gets a lot more engagement. I'm sure there's great data science to back that up with. I already saw people getting folded by elephants, beaten up, getting slashed by machetes in gang fights, and even getting publicly executed. Ooh, sounds wild indeed. I don't know, everyone's been seeing this video of some guy getting folded by an elephant, which, you know, I can imagine if an elephant steps on you, you absolutely are. You're gonna look like a goddamn Looney Tunes character, like plastered onto the ground. It's not gonna be pretty, that's for sure. Did you see the elephant video? My God, I actually do want to see a guy getting stepped on by an elephant. That's, you know, I can already visualize it, man. That's not good. Not good. So of course, even on other boards like Morocco, for instance, the Moroccans we're discussing, most of the videos that show up on my feed are flagged as disturbing content, like people getting shot, blown up, attacked by animals, and so on. I'm in Canada and everyone here is getting deep web gore videos. I had to take a break from Insta today. So yeah, you can imagine the actual, psychological implications of, again, what happens when you turn your website into LiveLeak. Now, for anybody that doesn't remember what LiveLeak is, LiveLeak used to be a site known as Ogrish. And over on this website, the big prominence for it was that apparently they posted the execution of like Saddam Hussein. So you can imagine the kind of content filtration that happens on this website. For instance, if you ever wanted to see a leaked video of a Hellfire missile being fired in Afghanistan with the drone operators joking and laughing, LiveLeak was your website for it. Now, sure, if you're mentally fortuitous for it, you can absolutely tackle this video with no problem. But somebody who just wants to see cute cats on Instagram, I'm sure they weren't expecting LiveLeak, okay? This is like kind of the equivalent of like a kid that wants to play Minecraft, and you just slap Manhunt 2 in front of him and say, good job, kid, have a fun time, play it all the way to the end. Yeah, that kid's not gonna come out a little bit fucked up, that's for sure. Now, a lot of social media bugs have kind of been making the rounds lately. Like one of the funnier things that I saw the other day was apparently on Apple, with their dictation tool, basically where you can just, instead of typing into your phone, you can hit the little microphone app, speak into it, and it basically dictates what you're saying to and converts it to text. Apparently, one user was typing in or saying the word racist, and at some point, the Apple dictation was like kind of converting it to Trump for a little bit, which I thought was a little bit wild. I usually think that technology should work without any inherent like biases like this. But yeah, it really just shows you how a lot of these big tech companies kind of control and almost impose their view onto people with, again, like their technologies and their algorithms. Now, is Facebook necessarily wanting to push people into consuming more gore content? Absolutely not. I would imagine that would be pretty huge if so. But recently, behind the scenes, Meta is fixing a situation where, again, they're kind of like modifying their website. They've gotten rid of like apparently the fact-checking program that they had. They're bringing back like more political content, especially content that would have been removed under the previous like administrations or maybe like a couple of years ago on Facebook. They're sort of blowing with where the winds are at this moment in time, which nobody can blame a company for. After all, this is a company that's designed to make money, not necessarily care about specific values that it wants to promote. But yeah, generally speaking, there's been a lot of shakeups going on, and people genuinely have been wondering why Facebook has had this issue. And there have been some rumblings, like apparently there was a content moderator strike, so like all the human moderation left. There's been no verification of that, okay? This literally was somebody who was modifying the algorithm, probably pushed something like, hey, from the not safe for work list or recommendations, just wildcard that into the general For You page nonsense. Maybe something like that got pushed into and Facebook freaked out. And they were like, all right, we just got to go into this situation. Like, we got to pull this back. And we gotta go back to when people were looking at normal things recommended to them, not something that would obviously not be okay under our community guidelines. But the sheer volume of the content people have seen, it makes you wonder how that content is even still up there and apparently allowed to be viewed, right? Like, you have this content that's clearly violating your terms of service. I'm sure that uploading somebody's execution video to your platform probably wouldn't be allowed. But why was it there in the first place? Let alone being recommended is what one would have to say, right? It kind of shows you that the recommendations that are sort of like thrown at you from Meta are almost bullshit. So while they've exited the fact-checking system, right, they're going into things like community notes, and I would assume that obviously with content being allowed in, it's a matter of moderating the broader spectrum of content. Shit that used to be banned is now flooding the system, and it's up to Facebook under their new terms of services to make sure what works and what doesn't work. And it's going to be like a fine-tuning game. It always is a fine-tuning game with computer algorithms. It's just that there are days like yesterday where everyone has to see gore being posted. Now, I would argue this actually isn't even the worst thing that Facebook has done. For instance, this is actually a write-up from, the PNAS.org, Experimental Evidence of Massive Scale Emotional Contagion Through Social Networks. So if this sounds kind of weird to you, this is a write-up from 2014. And there they show a massive 689,003 users on Facebook who were unwillingly experimented on, and they were manipulating, yes, their emotional states. So what they did was basically, out of all these random users, they went into their news feeds, and what they did was when positive expressions were reduced, people produced fewer positive posts and more negative posts. When negative expressions were reduced, the opposite pattern occurred. So they were manipulating people's news feeds and basically making them either happier or depressed. They were actually fucking with them psychologically. Now, normally this wouldn't be an issue if you had actually received consent from your test subjects. Facebook, on the other hand, did not. In fact, when they were actually questioned about this and they were actually brought to task, they were like, we're sorry, it happens. They were poorly communicated, if not communicated at all. This is part of an ongoing research companies do to test different products. And that was what it was. It was poorly communicated. And for that communication, we apologize. We never meant to upset you. You know, I've seen the BP oil company give more of a fuck apologizing for its mistakes than Facebook blatantly committing psychological operations on its user base without their consent. I mean, in a normal world, a company like this would be sued up the ass and fined astronomically. But, you know, in a world like, Meta, where a lot of these big tech companies effectively do control, I would say, the government for the most part, in a lot of ways, they can get away with blind murder, it seems, and not a single thing happens to them. And honestly, when it came to the content moderation too, like even looking into like the past with Facebook, the amount of drugs that have been shared on this platform would honestly make the Silk Road seem tame in comparison. Like blatantly just being shared like oxycodines and like pills that obviously could lead people to their early grave. Just, actual drug dealers peddling their 420 wares on the marketplace or just through their Facebook pages and seemingly basically being allowed to openly operate until, of course, Facebook shuts them down once public pressure is thrown into their face. It really shows that I don't think moderation and the algorithm and positivity is entirely their control. I really feel like when cases like this, it should honestly require a little more regulation to see what these people are doing to millions of users around the world. And when it comes to things like, Facebook experimentation, there were even situations where it turns out that Facebook could literally just manipulate people and, of course, cause real world election turnout, changes, which obviously are a huge deal. Like things like elections probably shouldn't be allowed to be manipulated. But it really shows you the power that a lot of these tech companies have. I know that we're kind of going off on a lot of tangents over here, but what effectively has happened with Facebook's and Instagram Reels content moderation really just is kind of scratching the surface into how much power that these social media algorithms do have controls on their user bases, right? A lot of these big tech companies are basically playing with fire when it comes to manipulating the mindset of their user base. Something like this Instagram Reel stuff, I'm sure I haven't seen the elephant, video that people are talking about. But I'm sure that it's probably traumatized some users who are probably minors as well too. And again, Facebook's only reaction to this is scrambling to fix it and basically saying, we're sorry. Yeah, wild shit, dude. Honestly, wild stuff indeed. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever wondered, should I have a reason to detach from social media services? It probably might be reasons like this, okay? Social media is fine to just interact with your friends and family, but when you sit there wasting your life away scrolling through feeds, eventually you may come across feeds where it's just death and wanton destruction. And in this case, Facebook made a big oopsie. And luckily they corrected the oopsie, but it really should make people look deeper into Facebook as a company and what they've kind of been doing. Facebook is interesting when you look at it, like DARPA's LifeLock stopped when Facebook began. Sometimes I wonder if there's anything deeper with Facebook and its connection to the government. But then again, I'm getting into like conspiracy theories right there. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.